Well, hey there. It's Matt. And through this journey we call life, there are ups and there are downs, as there always are. But the truth about my life is that lately, as in the last, I'd say about a little bit more than 2 years now, it's felt like one massive down. And it's only now that I've taken my antipsychotics for over a year and a few months consistently. I mean, wholly consistently. As in every day I am there and I am waiting at the counter for my medication. It's only now that I've started feeling better. Quite a bit. And that's with the last dosage. I notice it as soon as I take the dose. I notice, boom, there's an immediate effect around me. And psychotics have not been that way for everyone. I know some people, it takes months for the effects to start showing. And even then, it's more of a prolonged affair, as in you take the meds and then a few hours later, things might change, but not immediately. Studies even say that it takes 15 to 20 minutes for it to fully enter your system, yet I noticed serious differences within about 3 minutes in. So that's really interesting to me. Now, I've been dealing with quite a bad case of psychosis. In fact, I've been dealing with, for points in time, a very abysmal case of psychosis, much worse than most people's. An excessively obsessive case of psychosis, which I believe will remain until it is fully out of the picture and out of my memory, out of my mind. So, let's go into that, and let's link it to, the truth. Which I believe there is quite a considerable truth to consider here. Now, as we all know, psychosis is a vile, menacing thing. However, for some patients, it can be a vile, menacing drug to entertain psychosis. Sorry, I'm adjusting my shorts. I feel such a loser, but I keep on grabbing my fucking shorts. Because, well, kind of societal perception gets on my mind sometimes, I guess. But yeah. It can be a vile drug. And what I mean by that is that through the honesty of people, as in we are all inherently honest creatures to ourselves, comes the manipulative tendencies of the wicked. Since there is manipulation in society, there is manipulation in psychosis. Because psychosis is the bad parts of society put together in a package. It is the bad parts of what surround us. It is the bad parts of people. That's why it feels like an overly judgmental crowd. Now, thinking, the government has poisoned my coffee and going on a big chase over it. Well, that's playing into psychosis. That's psychosis being a drug instead of antipsychotics being the savior. Because I honestly am starting to think they really have saved me. And that's an incredible thing. Do I believe that to be the whole picture, the whole result? No. There's a hell of a lot more going into it than that, which will frustrate it, of course. But, yeah. The point is, some people view psychosis in a an exuberant yet motivated and enthralled light, as in they're constantly fixated to what's at hand. While some people view it in a very disconnected and negative light. I was kind of a bit of both, if I'm being honest. But mostly the later, although surprisingly enough with positivity attached. But that was because it was fair with me. It was fairly kind to me, even in some ways. Then it just grew into a monster. And it all started 2 years and 2 months ago. And I believe that that is because I connected to a simulated point at hand, a simulated spot, a simulated area, a simulated environment that might as well be on this planet just like it might as well be outside of it, because I don't really believe that space and time works like that. We're all essentially in the same place. Despite being in very different places, in the literal sense, we're all essentially in the same place. So, currently, it is waiting, the psychosis, to cheer itself on over constricting my memory and giving me a worse frame of reference, because it is frightened and frustrated. This would never happen before. This started 2 years and 2 months ago. Now, I believe the world can be a very beautiful and peaceful and amazing place, just like it can be a dystopian horror to which only books have written down. I believe it can be the most beautiful place ever, where people are excessively open-minded and kind, within, not simply their gestures, not simply their amicability, but their actual being. Just like I believe that people, for making one wrong move, can get their heads chopped off. That's the sad truth of a lot of the background behind us. And even what's in front of us at times. Just not on this planet, that's forbidden. But when I say in front of us, for the pieces to align throughout a puzzle that is of that measure requires to our minds, it would be an incredible amount of cynicism to even begin to conjure up. Yet what created the Middle Ages? Blasphemy, murder, torture. Maybe I'm getting carried away and sharing what I feel are horrifying truths. Or maybe I'm just making the truth known. What exactly am I talking about? Well, I want you to consider something. Let's say that schizophrenia, because within the grander system of society, schizophrenia is created within a realm that can access ores. Let's say it is. Let's say it is made within not the mind of a man or a woman, but the mind of a demonic presence. And let's say it is meant to invade men and women. It is meant to invade the human species. Now, how do you get to that point in time? Meaning, how is society to function under such a regimen unless that regimen is inherently hurtful? Now, in every society there's ever been, there are beautiful moments. Every goddamn society. Whether it be through the lowly ends, meaning the populace, or whether it be through the high ends, meaning the ones in charge, there are always beautiful moments, whether it be through the theatrics of showing beauty, or whether it be through actual born and bred beauty. There are always gorgeous moments within societies, which makes me all the more petrified that I believe that my schizophrenia, it was not enacted upon by this planet. That I wholly disbelieve. That I wholly do not believe in. However, did a guy or a girl at some point go and nod their heads over it being done? Did society turn a blind eye to it in some foreign future or past reality where this was to eventually be accepted as everything in society, whether we like it or not, unless it is straight up crime that affects you even in to some perspectives and some degrees, and in some instances gets accepted. There's some shitty ass people that do not work in the classrooms or do not work at the benches. They do not work low-end jobs. They work very high-end jobs. So I think I'm just gonna fucking go, because whatever. Yay, running. I believe that demonic interference created the mental health problem inside of my head that then got dissipated away from me. Now, meds helped. In fact, meds saved me. That is breathtaking in every single way, shape, and form. That is goddamn breathtaking. But, is there more to it than meds? Because, see, the point is that meds work upon one person swallowing a pill, and then their singular mind works upon its own basis. It adjusts. It sees things differently. But what if that singular mind was to be under correlation, under cooperation with a grander system? And what if eyesight, as in not my own, as in other people's, created a problem and then dissipated it under confrontation's sake? Honestly, I see this as a beautiful thing. Unlike what some may think. But it's complicated in the sense that the way the world works is more than our eyes see. And I believe that if a life after death truly awaits us, then we will see more truths. And what I honestly believe as well is that in so many fucking ways, if not every way, the world just gets better. But the issues that we deal with that come from the outside are stupendously awful. They create a conundrum within us of nefariousness, of blasphemy, of horrors. And the truth is, we're all within or elements as people, right? So that means that if a study were to be brought up, or a quiz, a pop quiz, a question put up on a larger form, a larger stage, a way to resonate. Sorry for the cars. That were to say, do you believe that the cure of mental health for all would be a God's given miracle, or are you in full support? 99.99% of people would wholly agree with it being a God's given miracle, and not much lower than that would be in full support. It would be seen as a nearly unanimously loved idea, simply incredibly unrealistic in its execution. But then I get hopeful as I ask myself, what if we were to get cured? Because I was. Now, the truth is, passion is a journey that sets you free. Which is why my schizophrenia, it despises passion. Currently it is within its own fruition's sake of hoping to lessen my minds, as it is the sole thing that heals theirs. That I cannot disagree with. But the truth is, while we're all in it for the team, sometimes you just have to protect yourself. And yes, I chased them the fuck out. How could I not? They wanted to hurt me. I believe beyond the already potent measure of mentally doing so, and even physically, twice. My life has been a grand, complicated mess, and it's proven one thing. Or reality is kind of a lie, even though it's the truth. I mean, we're all living it, but it's kind of a lie. It's not what it's showcased to be, in the sense that nothing is said about it, but through or the applicable land of, this is what I'd share, this is what I wouldn't share. No one would actually share the thought, minus very few. This is a simulation. Mostly because, well, what can you do to prove that? And I fare in many ways. I am maybe nearly the sole proof there is. And I'm sharing this, which is beautiful in my mind. I'm sharing this with my 31 YouTube subscribers because, I should have none. It's kind of based on the past channel, but my guess is like half came from the past channel and half are brand new, and that's fucking brilliant. Because maybe I've expected zero fruition until either something in my life picks up and I get some kind of success otherwise, or just nothing, or simply not. N-A-U-G-H-T, not whatsoever. So, we are here, we are now. I'm just enjoying the conversations around me, because very rarely does schizophrenia go into business semantics and worries about perception and the future. But Let's just make one thing abundantly clear. I was nearly killed. And if you believe in hell and heaven and all that, and that they'd actually watch over planets, because that's the logical consensus to come to, is that everything has a technological backing, even the mind. If not, it doesn't work. If not, you don't show up anywhere. Well, the only conclusion to come to my mind was that if I was killed, I was to be castrated. I was to be vehemently treated. And during the second half, I would have had a pretty good to a really good life. Because I believe I proved myself to people who do not habitually give a shit. So, see, I know it's hard with the mind that has been made over time to be kind of simplified in some ways. We can be very intelligent as a populace, not really as a populace, more as individuals. But through time literally fragmenting over manual intervention, I believe we grew worse. Because I've noticed that at religion's sake, no one actually talks about, like, this is how we'd end up in heaven. This is how we'd end up in hell. This is what that would entail. They're just like, heaven is waiting for us for a better life. And they say it over dead family members and so on. There's also a consensus that's frightening in that our planet, well, if it doesn't seem like it's being watched over, then there's probably a point in that. Meaning that, well, the obvious, you know. This isn't exactly a simulated reality in theory. Beyond it being so, at least I think, because, well, there's nothing that's transparently different than life simply apparent. The history books explain everything there is to explain. So why would my mind wander beyond, you know, experiencing impossibilities? But I've experienced impossibilities, so therefore lies a contradiction. So, my thinking, you know, beyond the mental health, or so-called, trying to bring me down, trying to worsen my mind into submission so that I do not speak of such ill things anymore, is that there is a grand proclamation to be made here, which is that if the world is both simulated and hallucinated, and if we were born in a reality that never accommodated us but yet had everything too, because we take these things for granted. We take materials for granted, we take food for granted, we take water for granted. These things might not be meant to exist, but yet we need them to exist to survive. And they exist in decent amounts, enough to cater to us for the next 80, 100 years. Well, and coincidentally, that's when the planet goes to shit. I want you to really think about it. Because at some point, you just have to realize that, why couldn't you just make something appear? If some guy lives at a computer, okay, and he just checks off planets and he checks off like 20 a day, he probably gets tired of fighting for them. He probably just wants to move on with his fucking life and just I don't know, eat Cheerios and play video games or something. And that's my reasoning. I think we were created solely for two purposes: population and entertainment. I think you are kind of silly considering the amount of progression that's happened in the last 50 years if you think that we're the first, that this is humanity's first try. Because despite so many fuck-ups, the ideals come to people too easily. Video games are ingenious as an invention. They're obvious to us. So how could they go from not existing one day to existing the next? It doesn't make any sense. Unless a person has a brilliant idea. But how does he have that brilliant idea? That's kind of the point I'm driving to. If you think about the fact that we're inherently manipulated as a society, then it makes perfect sense. Then it makes too much goddamn sense. But only manipulated in the ways which serve to benefit us with the rewards that we seek. People are not manipulated to be better people. In fact, they're probably manipulated to be fucking worse, I think. So, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. That's a quote from the Nerd album, N-E-R-D, by Pharrell Williams, the very latest one, and I wish I remembered the name because it has Lemon on it, which is a very good song. But I find it a brilliant quote because that's the goddamn truth. But you know what's inspiring about all this, despite it being so pessimistic? There's a chance. I mean, maybe my awakening will bring about a greater good, not simply a good for me. I don't even want to say the goddamn I sound like I'm delusional quote, because it's a fucking lie. I'm telling the truth. There's a chance it'll become better for all of us. And yes, it is out of a video game in the technical sense, the term, just like we are living a simulated life. It's that simple. It's just in video games, it's fucking harmless. But even then, monetization, you know, these concepts seep through everywhere. We are actually paying for in-game fucking items. Now think about it for a second, would you? What brings about a grander livelihood and more power for some? Is it monetization? Or is it the monetization of humanity? To me, these are obvious ideas at this point because of what I've went through. But yeah, I'm gonna go because I'm at 28 minutes. And I just hope that I will edit the video so it doesn't matter because I love this video. I'm not posting it immediately. I'm waiting till I'm home. Then I'm editing it so that the sound comes off as less loud for the cars and louder for your boy. That's it. That is it, and that is all. Thank you and goodbye.